The country that could be formed of all exiles and forced immigrants of Latin America would have a population larger than that of Norway.
Más numerosa que la de Noruega. Me atrevo a pensar que es esta realidad
I dare to think that it is this outsized reality, and not just its literary expression, that has deserved the attention of the Swedish Academy of Letters. A reality not of paper, but one that lives within us and determines each instant of our countless daily deaths, and that nourishes a source of insatiable creativity, full of sorrow and beauty, of which this roving and nostalgic Colombian is but one cipher more, singled out by fortune.
Una cifra más señalada por la suerte. Poetas y mendigos, músicos y profetas,
poets and beggars, musicians and prophets, warriors and scoundrels, all creatures of that unbridled reality, we have had to ask but little of imagination, for our crucial problem has been a lack of conventional means to render our lives believable.
Para hacer creíble nuestra vida.
This, my friends, is the crux of our solitude.
This is part of a speech Garcia Márquez gave after he sold his 1 millionth copy of 100 Years of Solitude.
When I was 38 years old, and with 4 books published since I was 20, I sat down at the typewriter and began. Many years later, facing the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. I had no idea of the meaning nor the origin of that phrase or where it was leading me. What I know today is that I did not stop writing for a single day, for 18 straight months, until I finished the book. It seems incredible, but one of my most pressing problems was finding paper for the typewriter. I had the bad manners of believing that misspelled words, language mistakes, or errors in grammar were actually created, and whenever detected, I would tear up the page and throw it into the trash basket to start again. With the piece I had gained in a year of practice, I figured it would take me about 6 months working every morning to complete the book. Esperanza Araiza, the unforgettable Para, was a typist for poets and filmmakers who completed the final versions of the great works of Mexican writers, including Where the Air is Clear by Carlos Fuentes, Pedro Páramo, Juan Rulfo, and several original scripts of Luis Buñuel. When I asked her to finish the final version, the novel was a draft of riddled patches, first in black ink and then in red to avoid confusion. But that was not unusual for a woman used to being in a den of wolves. A few years later, Pera confessed to me that when she was going home with the final version of the manuscript that I had corrected, she got off the bus, slipped and fell under a torrential rain. The pages went floating in the mire of the streets. With the help of other passengers, she was able to collect and drench the near illegible pages and took them home to dry page by page with a clothes iron. What could be the topic of an even better book would have been how we survived. Mercedes and I, with our 2 children, during that time when I did not gain a dime anywhere, I don't even know how Mercedes managed during those months to not miss a single day's food in the house. We resisted the temptation to take out loans with interest until we got the courage in our hearts and we started our first forays to Mount Mercy, pawn shop. After the fleeting relief of having pawned certain small things, we had to pawn jewels that Mercedes had received from family members over time. The expert examined them with the rigor of a surgeon. He checked with his magical eyes the diamonds of the earrings, emeralds of the necklace, rubies of the rings, and in the end he returned them after a long pause. All this is pure glass.
Esto es puro vidrio. En los momentos de dificultades mayores, Mercedes hizo sus cuentas astrales.
In the times of greatest difficulty, Mercedes did her astral accounting and told her patient landlord, without the slightest tremor in her voice, "We can pay you altogether in 6 months." "Excuse me, ma'am," replied the owner. "Do you realize that this will be a huge sum?" "I do realize this," Mercedes said impressively, "but then we'll have it all figured out. Rest assured."
Lo tendremos todo resuelto. Esté tranquilo. El buen licenciado, que era un alto funcionario del Estado.
The good man, who was a senior official of the state and one of the most elegant and patient men that we ever met, did not tremble his voice either and responded, "Very well, ma'am. Your word is all I need." And he calculated his mortal accounts and said, "I await you on September 7th.
La espero el 7 de septiembre. Por fin, a principios de agosto de 1966,
Finally, at the beginning of August 1966, Mercedes and I went to the post office of Mexico City to send to Buenos Aires the final version of 100 Years of Solitude, a package of 590 typewritten pages, double-spaced on ordinary paper, and addressed to Francisco Perua, literary director of the South American publisher.
editorial sudamericana. El empleado del correo puso el paquete en la balanza, hizo sus cálculos mentales y dijo,
The postal employee put the package on the scale, made his mental calculations, and said, "It will cost 82 pesos. Mercedes counted the bills and loose change she had left in her purse and faced reality. We only have 53.
abrimos el paquete, lo dividimos en dos partes iguales y mandamos.
We opened the package, we divided into 2 equal parts and sent one part to Buenos Aires, without even asking how we were going to get the money to send the rest. Only later did we realize that we had not sent the first part, but the last.
De que no habíamos mandado la primera sino la última parte. Pero antes de que consiguiéramos el dinero,
But before we got the money to send it, Paco Perua, our man in the South American publisher, eager to read the first half of the book, sent us the money we needed to send the first part. That was how we came to be born in our lives today.
Muchas gracias.